I love you.
Welcome back, you sexy couch potatoes. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh, and sometimes I wish I was born a woman.
Sometimes, don't we all?
Sometimes.
I am the Faceless Leon, your favorite amorphic being, and I love all you curly coos and French fries. I love you all, no matter all shape and size.
So you just killed them all and fried them up, huh?
Yeah, they're scrumptious. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
I was just imagining them all just sitting raw on the couch.
Well, I mean, they were.
Shit.
Until I chopped them up and fried them up.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, you guys thought that the Green Traveler was a scary one.
Yeah, well, that's human race for you right there. I'm gonna say that again because I said human race really weird. That's the human race for you right there.
That's the human race for you.
The human race. Well, today we're talking three musical icons, and not only three musical icons, but three powerhouse female icons as well.
Yes, they all amazing in my book in their own rights.
Agreed.
I almost forgot. This is a podcast about movies and TV. And now that we got that out of the way,
yeah, I keep like seeing how much further I can push that through the episode. Like Wonder Woman, I think I got it to about 3.5 minutes. Yeah, just like someday it'll be like halfway through a whole movie review, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is a podcast."
This is a podcast about movies and TV, and I think this one broke the record, Greg.
My closing statement.
My closing statement. Oh, yeah. Safe travels, and this is a podcast about movies and TV. Our powerhouses. Our powerhouses. Yes. We got Dolly Parton with Dolly Parton, Here I Am. Lady Gaga and Lady Gaga 5'2", and Beyoncé and Black is King.
Queen Bey.
Yeah. I was really excited to do this one, and I still am. But I honestly, this is like all of these films are completely different than what we usually talk about. So
so
it is. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, two of them are documentaries. One's Here I Am is a traditional documentary. 5'2" is more of a behind the scenes look, and then Black is King is just a visual album. So like they're all very different from what we normally watch. I wouldn't say just.
It is like probably the best visual album I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I guess I never actually sat through The Wall, but I would imagine this is better. This is amazing.
Yeah, I have sat through The Wall, and I will say that this is much more enjoyable to watch than that.
Cool.
There is a lot of enjoyment to be had from The Wall. You just have to be on certain substances.
Yes. Well, we said we were going to start with Dolly, and but I feel like we've already gushed on Black is King. I still want to save it for later. Let's save it for later. Yeah.
Let's go into Dolly Parton. Here I Am.
Why
don't you tackle Dolly?
Why don't I tackle Dolly? Dolly has been around for quite some time, and she still looks damn gorgeous. She's got this particular film is about how she got started, how she had to work hard to make it in an industry that was ran by men in a period where women's rights was, what do I say, at a tipping point.
Men had full control, but women were more vocal.
That's right. But she's still, there's still a lot of fighting that needed to take place. She definitely was a symbol for that. And her persona, too. This movie does talk a lot about her persona. Like, to counter her to Lady Gaga, her persona is still Dolly Parton, while Lady Gaga is like a completely different amalgamation. I feel like
it's a statement. Yeah, she's a statement of control.
Right.
You know, she used her image as more of like I still have some form of command over my situation, my surroundings.
Yes.
Whereas Dolly, her command was just in being herself, and not letting the industry tell her what she could and couldn't be.
That's right. And she goes into talking about. There's this one particularly interesting story about when her parents took her into town, and there was this woman that dressed in, pretty dresses and walked a certain way, and she said, "Oh, mommy, that lady's so pretty," and her mommy's just like, "Well, she's just trash." She decided to model her persona off of this person because she saw beauty and power in the way that this woman portrayed herself. I think that kind of just speaks to what the whole movie's about, is to be as proud as possible, really.
Yeah, I think when you look at Here I Am, the movie itself, the documentary, I came away that the story is great.
Yeah,
there's a lot to talk about with the character, and I'm sure we will talk about the character a lot, of Dolly Parton, that is. But overall, I don't watch as many documentaries as you.
Sure.
And the reason is I get bored because they're all textbook. They're all very, very much the same formula where you focus on a life story and you cut it up with a bunch of funny interviews and some B footage and newsreel footage, and it's like they all play out the same. That I get bored with it. I get bored with that formula.
Yeah, this is definitely a formulaic documentary with interviews and everything you said, really, much more than, like you said, Lady Gaga 5'2" is more of like a hey, follow me behind the scenes kind of thing, which
is very entertaining to watch. We'll get into that when we cover it, but I really enjoyed what Lady Gaga did because it's kind of like a fresh take on a documentary. It looked into the character rather than just explored the life.
Sure.
And that's not to say Here I Am doesn't look into the character Dolly, because it does a great job at that. It's just that style of telling a story just falls flat on me. I can read it. I could read a family saga. That's great. Just seeing it on a documentary style, I just don't know why. I just can't focus on it. Sure. But that's not to knock anything against this movie, because it's well delivered, and again, the character is great. Like I learned so much about Dolly I didn't know.
Yeah, same here. Her friendship with Jane Fonda was I knew they were in that movie together, but I didn't know how good of friends they were. That was a lot of fun to see, and yet what's interesting about it is that Jane felt like she still didn't really know Dolly. Like, she had such a great time with her, and they would have sleepovers while they were filming and writing the film, and
they all like, she'd come in with like a new stanza of 9 to 5 every day.
Right, yeah, and it was her and I forget that other actress that was in 9 to 5 with them, but she's in Frank and Gracie, or is it Frankie and Grace? I don't remember. It's a Netflix film with Jane Fonda and this other actor. I'm sorry, I forget your name off the top of my head, but they kept on going back and forth to both of their interviews, talking about Dolly, how fun Dolly was, and it kind of made me want to know Dolly. She seemed like a really good time.
Yeah, she seems like a really interesting person to hang around with. Like, especially the story with like her relationship with her husband, who like is completely just like, he's not in the limelight at all. He just there's a moment, it's kind of silly, but at the same time it's funny when they mention his name, and I don't remember his name. It's like Carl something.
Yeah, I think it's Carl. I think you're right.
It's just like they cut to all the interviewer or all the people being interviewed, and they're just like, Carl who? What? Who is that guy?
One guy was just like, that sounds familiar, but I don't know why.
It's so funny because he just stays so much out of the limelight that people don't know him. He's so much the opposite of who Dolly Parton is. She's so very very upfront and very vocal that you're just like, you know her. I did think one of the funny things was whenever they were talking to people about her in the interviews, because there's two things that Dolly is known for. I think she's got a great set of lungs. And whenever they talk to these people, like especially the men, whenever they talk to, you could see that like most of them were trying to steer around her boobs. It's like, how do we not talk about her boobs? It's like, oh God, it's like, how do I get around this situation without mentioning like looking like a pervert? And then they cut to one of her managers. They cut to like her manager from like this 70s to the 2000s or whatever. I don't remember who it was, but he was just like, she was beautiful, she was busty, and I was like, thank you. One guy who just straight up mentioned it.
She honestly cracked some pretty fucking great jokes about her boobs over the years, and though I do feel kind of weird talking about her boobs, I have to be perfectly honest. Because I did look it up, it's Carl Thomas Dean is her husband's name. Thank you,
Carl Dean. Yeah, I was thinking like the only name I could think was Karl Rove, and I'm like, no, he's politics. I don't remember this guy's name. But no, it's she has a lot of good jokes about just her image in general. She opens up the whole movie opens up with her talking just like, I'm Dolly Parton. I know I look all artificial and scary, but on the inside, I'm cute and warm, and I don't know the actual words.
Yeah,
it's great because it's true. She does look different than what she looked back in the day, but at the same time, she's still the same beautiful Dolly.
She almost always wore wigs. Like that's just part of her image.
Yeah. But it's just now she's got a beautiful voice. She's got amazing songs and just superb talent.
Right.
And she used her platform to help so many people. It still does.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like her philanthropy. Oh man, I'm not going to say that word right. Her goodwill and giving to others, I feel like wasn't as highlighted as I thought it would be in this film.
Right.
Especially because this film just came out last year. It's a 2019 movie. Oh, I guess that was 2 years ago now. Nah, I mean it's like the third.
Yeah, it didn't come out. It didn't come out New Year's Day.
Yeah, it didn't come out New Year's Day. So sometime 2019, and I don't even know what I was talking about.
Well, you were talking about how her philanthropy is not really focused on, and I agree because I thought because just last year she what'd she do for COVID? She donated. She paid for a lot of vaccines or something.
Right. She donated a shit ton of money towards the research, and her money ended up going to one of the 3 vaccines that we're currently using. I think there's 3 right now.
Right, and it's just like the people who are using their money for those good causes, like Bill Gates and her. Like, there's a lot to be said about Bill Gates, but we're not going to get into that. But she's been given this platform and all of this power, finance, so much credibility that she can just swing around, and she uses it for good causes still.
Right.
She shows her ignorance a little bit throughout the movie, where there's a moment where she's talking about homosexuals and cross-dressers, and she seems a little put off by them, but at the same time she's like, no, they're just enjoying my music. There's nothing to there's no hatred or anything.
Well, her background is she lived in pretty isolated in the I can't remember. Tennessee. Yeah, she's from Tennessee, dummy.
And it shows a little bit. But just because she's not completely just because she doesn't completely understand, she still loves them, and they're still there to enjoy her music, and she's going to give them everything that she can to make them happy and have a good time. I
did like how she said that a lot of my fans and a lot of my friends are gay, and and I feel like that was at that moment where I kind of did feel like she didn't know exactly, not that she didn't know what to say, but she didn't. There was something there. I will agree.
It's an uncomfortability about how to talk about it.
Also, she's getting up there, and she's been around for a long time. And when she was a little girl, I mean, it was not okay. I mean, from our standpoint, it was okay. the rest of the world just needed to get over it. But people got killed for being gay, and so it's a completely different world now. And just the fact that I want to say she's in her 70s, and I should know this, saying that we just watched this film. But anyways, saying that a woman of her age would even be willing to consider that's progress in the world, I think.
Just because she's not completely in the know about everything, PC, right. She still cares, and she's still interested in learning and just being kind to everybody. So
right.
She was, as she said, she wasn't singing just for like one specific person. She's singing for everybody in the room. Yeah. She's trying to make everybody happy, and at the same time she's trying to deliver good messages. Like, so many of her songs have important messages behind them, like, just to think of one off the top, they talk about the first song that I guess was a hit, Dumb Blonde or something like that. What is it? Dumb Blonde. I think it was Dumb Blonde, and I don't think that she actually wrote that one. I think somebody wrote that one for her. But she said she should have.
Yeah, she did say that, and I think a lot of people just think that she did because she writes most of her songs.
Yeah, because it's a very pointed, like, everybody looks at her and thinks she's just supposed to be a dumb blonde, but right. when you look at her songs, you see all of the the beauty and intelligence that she's got put all into that, and right. her philosophy behind all the words, and it's all wonderfully told and wonderfully meant. She's, again, great person all around, just a boring documentary.
Yeah, I do watch quite a few documentaries.
Yeah, they're more up your alley than mine.
I never thought to critique a documentary until I suggested these three. But this is not. I wouldn't say this is a boring documentary. I feel like maybe we're kind of moving towards closing statements. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's fine too.
So, in closing, I would argue against that this isn't a boring documentary, because like I said, I do watch quite a few, and sometimes they can really put you to sleep. And this one did not do that. I was excited to learn about Dolly all the way through, and it had enough humor in it. Not many documentaries are pretty humorless, and it also highlighted a good amount of her music, and I did appreciate being able to listen while learning about her as well, because it's not like I'm the biggest Dolly Parton fan in the world. I think she's a really interesting person, and I do like her music. But country really isn't my forte. But being able to see the musics that I do recognize be talked about in the context of when it was written and produced was really interesting. And for that, I do appreciate this being a standard documentary, because I feel like all the time that what it spanned, that format lends well to that. But all in all, I do think further innovation. That's a fucking frozen meal that me and my wife eat. The innovativeness of the other two films do outweigh this one. This one, it is a pretty standard cut, but I still will give it a full face. Like, I feel like if you want to know about Dolly, go watch this. You'll learn a lot. It did its job.
I give it 3 out of 4 stars. It is a competent documentary. Yeah, it's a competent documentary. It's very knowledgeable. It has, again, the interviews are funny. I do think every single celebrity in the world talks in riddles, and it's quite annoying. Like, every single interview in this and in the Lady Gaga movie, they're all talking like they're all philosophers, and it's like, just shut up and say what you mean. Like, they're all like so afraid to like just go out and just cut a throat. You know, it's like, no, just go out and say somebody's name or drop the bomb, whatever you want to say, just say it. And they're all dancing around playing riddles. It's just so weird sometimes watching these documentaries because like they'll cut to Jane Fonda and she'll say something and I'll be like, what did you mean by that? What does that even mean? Like, I don't remember. I don't have specific. I didn't write anything down. Okay. I just remember there's so many times where they would cut away from an interview and I'm just like, what? But going away from that, it's a very interesting story, and I was interested throughout the whole thing. I was sleepy,
right,
for a lot of it, but I stayed awake. I didn't fall asleep, and you know, I learned a lot about this amazing woman who, like you, I'm not a country music fan,
right,
but hers is the kind of country I would listen to,
right.
You know, I do occasionally have a country song on. You know, more like Willie Nelson styled, like older country like that.
I do really like Willie Nelson's music too.
Yeah.
So a little sidebar here. I'm sorry, I'm cutting into your closing statement a little bit, but like not to hate on country music fans, but for me, her and Willie songs, like they just have so much more meaning to them than what you would get on your average radio station nowadays. I feel like
modern country from like the 80s on has become just monotonous drivel, in my opinion.
Right. I do think there was some good stuff in the 90s, like when we were growing up.
Well, there's
like Garth
there's
Brooks
always going to be good stuff. There's always going to be good stuff, but I feel like there's not much in that genre to explore, and nobody has figured out a good way to explore it. You know, it's kind of just become the same.
The sound is okay. I like the sound well enough. I think that you just need to have good songwriters like Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson writing the songs,
and performers also.
Right.
I feel like most of the male country voices in particular have all become the same.
Right.
And it's just so annoying.
Some variety would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I haven't been paying attention to the country music industry in the last few years, so I have actually heard a lot more newer country artists who are pretty good. Good. But going back to this closing statement though is, 3 out of 4 stars, competent documentary, good subject. Again, learned a lot about Dolly Parton that I never knew, and I'm happy I did because, she is a powerful woman. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think those are people that we need to be focusing more on going forward. We need to keep promoting true equality.
Sure. Yeah. I had something to say that, but I think you pretty much nailed it with we need to celebrate. That's the word I wanted to say. We need to celebrate people who work so hard to be inclusive. We need to celebrate that.
Yeah. Going back to something from last year that I hated so much that I don't think got enough attention, how much I hated it. The Tiger King. So many people talked and watched The Tiger King, or that is the right show, right?
Yeah,
that's
what
I'm thinking of. Yeah, it is. We shouldn't be promoting people like him. That's a real life story that I think honestly could have just gotten completely ignored, and I'd be happy with it. But people paid attention to it. He's a huge icon now that people actually do listen to. A lot of weird, crazy people out there will listen to anything he says, just like the man in the White House. Jeez. But that's why it's like we promote such bad stories like that people are just like this, and it was so well told that people are just like, yeah, this is great, let's latch on to this. No, let's latch on to stories like this. Let's latch on to stories like Dolly Parton, damn it. Like, somebody who fights through an industry and emerges as like one of the most vocal and powerful female orators of the last century.
Right. I don't know what kind of political message she might have in her new show, but she does have a new show called Dolly Parton's Heartstrings, I believe is what it's called. And this documentary did make me want to check it out.
Nice.
You know, at the very least to watch an episode or two just to get a feel for it. But I hope she does. You know, saying that it came out this year, that horrible year. I would hope that she has some kind of strong message to go along with it.
Well, let's move on to Lady Gaga, 5'2".
Ooh rah, rah rah rah. Yeah.
Ooh, rah, rah, ah. Is that what you?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
I was, yeah, but I did it poorly because
I caught you in your bad romance.
Yeah, you did catch me in my bad romance. Okay, we did not watch this movie to make fun of Lady Gaga.
No, I love Lady Gaga.
I do like her music quite a bit.
No,
I'm more like
talked,
her. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we talked. It's Complicated not too long ago, and how, you know, there's that stipulation against romantic comedies for men. You know, it's like, you know, it's taboo to say you like a romantic comedy when we're in high school, or, you know, when we were young. You know, if it felt wrong. That was another thing with Lady Gaga, is like, you know, I unabashedly loved Lady Gaga, and I did not care if people knew it. Like, I loved her music.
Yeah, I've always thought that she was good, but I've always liked her more for the statement that it felt like she was constantly making with her persona. And that's what drew my attention to her. Like, I agree that she's a great artist, and most of her songs are very strong, but that era of pop music really wasn't my thing.
It's fair.
At the time,
I definitely think she's gotten. I feel like more recently she's gotten better. Like the last.
Oh yeah.
For me personally, I agree with you that era of pop's not really my favorite. I love her songs, but at the same time, I'm not playing them, you know, that often.
Right.
But yeah, I do like playing her music more recently. I like, you know, what Came From a Star Is Born. I love the songs from there.
Oh yeah, that movie was so good.
Even the album that she's recording or performing during this documentary. You know, this is a behind the scenes documentary over the course of, like, I think a year in her life, like from 2017, maybe just a couple months. I don't know.
It does feel like quite a bit of time passes, but it's during the era where she did the Super Bowl show.
And had her album Joanne.
Yeah, had her album Joanne, and she was in American Horror Story, which for the second time.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some fun behind the scenes moments there.
Right, and that Roanoke season, I haven't actually. No, I did watch the season after that, but that Roanoke season for me is the best season that they've done of that show.
Oh, nice.
From start to finish. Like,
nice. I sadly gave up after Freak Show. I like Freak Show. I don't know why. I just stopped watching after that.
I would say you could jump right into Roanoke and you'd be good. I didn't really watch all of the hotel one either, but Roanoke was so freaking good, man.
Oh shit! You know, I actually watched a few episodes of the hotel one. I think I stopped watching because of that. Maybe.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe it's because I didn't like the season.
Of the main characters. Lady Gaga was one of the main characters in that one, but we had caught up at that point. This is going back in time to our roommate days, and we had caught up and we were watching it live on TV, and I think like the third episode really wasn't very strong, and we had like studies and other shit to do, so we just fell behind. And then, you know, after you fall behind, you can't during live TV you can't just jump back in. Right, you gotta wait until it comes out on Netflix, and then you gotta stream it. And then, you know me, I can't stream it. It's just boring. So, but anyhow, that Roanoke season, if you watch, it's an anthology show, so you don't have to feel committed to. How is her acting in it? It's good. In that season. Okay. Yeah, it's good. She really only has a few scenes, but everybody else is so good. Yeah, here's the thing about her that I get across from this documentary and from her acting too, is it's just, you know, she is, again, just as powerful as
Dolly Parton and Beyonce. I mean, obviously not as powerful. I don't think she has the same clout.
Yeah,
she has probably a lot of clout,
but she just keeps on growing. So
yeah, and for good reason. You know, she's an amazing artist. As I've mentioned, I like more of her more recent stuff when she's, you know, become less of an image and more of just an artist.
Right.
Not to say anything against the image she was setting, because this movie explains that a little bit. You know, she talks about it, talks about how it was her way of, you know, keeping control over the men who were trying to control her. You know, there's
right.
Yeah, she's kind of lost herself to.
It was something. I think she was also trying to express that she slightly felt pushed into it. Like they were pushing her to be more high fashion and to pump up the Gaga factor, as I call it. I don't know what the little monsters call it. But
that is what she calls her people. That's right.
That is what she calls them, yeah. But anyways, she seemed to be expressing that she was, because they were trying to force her to do that, she took it in the direction of extreme to show that she was still in control of her image, or to at least have some control of her image. But now she's with a new producer. I feel like that's what a big focus of this documentary is her trying to find herself again, because she got lost in the Gaga.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I was about to. I stopped because I didn't know how to say it.
Say that.
Why I didn't know how to say it, and you said it perfectly. She got lost in the Gaga. She got lost in, you know, the music.
Right.
You know, the industry. As I was talking about with Dolly Parton, you know, I feel like most celebrities are speaking in riddles, and I don't think it's on purpose. I think it's just because they're lost from how normal society, like, people like you and me talk. You know, they're so used to written script and all this celeb and fame.
Anything they can say could be a future song lyric, I feel like.
or taken against them.
Yeah. So it's that is a good point. I didn't think about that. Like, you know, if you say something about the wrong or something about something around the wrong person, they'll say, "Hey, guess what Gaga said about Madonna," which did kind of come up.
Right, it came up a lot. I mean, again, it's like everything just becomes a philosophical statement for them. You know, it's just they mention something, it's vague, it's poetic, but at the same time, you're like, what are you trying to say? Like, just speak your mind.
Yeah.
There's so many times that comes across in this. Well, she's also stoned for most of the documentary, but
yeah, it did.
So that lends to the philosophy of it.
Right, yeah. And that particular moment that I think we're talking about, where she's sitting on the curb with her producer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that I was like, I don't know, like, she's not the person that I thought she was, really.
No.
Like, so, you know, I feel like you get to know who she is a little bit better than, say, Dolly and Dolly's doc.
Yeah, Dolly, you get to know about her life.
You get to know about her life, exactly, and how other people perceive her, but yet still in Dolly's doc, her in interview, she still seemed very genuine, and everything. And I'm not going to say that Gaga doesn't seem genuine in this movie. There are some times where I think she does have the feeling, okay, the camera's on me, I should be doing something.
I feel like that's more because it's in the life of, because you know, there's, you know, it's just a period of time where there's a camera following her around. So I feel I agree that it definitely seemed like there was moments where she was just like, well, I got to play up for the camera right now. But that's also just this style of documentary. You know, she's gonna she's still being herself, but at the same time she is acting a little bit, it feels like. But I know what you're feeling. I know what I understand what you're getting across.
There was one particular moment which I don't know if it's honest, if it was honestly usual behavior for her, where she was at the poolside trying to explain something and she decided to take her top off. Like that kind of just felt like out of nowhere, or maybe, I don't know. There could be a behind the scenes of 5'2" that we don't know about, where she was getting pissy with these camera people, and so decided to, she was hoping that was a private moment with these people, and then they came up and started filming. I don't know, but still, it kind of felt like a little out of place. Her behavior at sometimes feels out of place, and that could be because she is lost. Like, this movie is about how lost she is, really.
Yeah, and I agree because that definitely felt like an odd moment, but that's how I took it. Was it felt like a moment where she was lost, where she didn't know. Yeah, she's like, how it felt more like a get me more attention. You know, and I hate to say that because that's not what the the image I want to paint her as from this documentary, because that doesn't seem like the kind of person that she really is.
No, but I don't think it's who she wants to be. Anyways. Yeah.
But it definitely felt like that in the moment. It felt more like an attention, like maybe like the I don't know, played up for the camera.
So because it was, I have formulated a thought, I believe.
Thank you. I was struggling so hard.
Yes, it's okay. I was too. And anywho, my thought that is worth having. I feel like because it is a behind the scenes, hey, let's pick up the camera and just follow her around and see what happens.
Yeah. I
feel like we as the viewer are expected to know certain things about her life.
Yes.
Like, I know Lady Gaga. How can't you know Lady Gaga? She's a household name. Her music's been on the radio for, I don't know, 15 years? I don't know.
Super popular when we were teens, which was her target audience. There's no way we didn't know her as kids.
Exactly. But I don't know her beyond her songs, the way that she dressed, and the name. That is what I really knew going in to watching this documentary. So I don't know that it's necessarily a detriment, like, because that does drive people to go learn more, and this is the age of the internet. You can learn something in an instant. But
I don't think it's a detriment because I feel like they do a good job at explaining aspects of her life that we wouldn't know.
Sure, you get it from the context. For sure.
They talk about her exes in just a way that it doesn't give them the focal point at all.
Right.
But you understand where she's coming from in regards to feelings towards men, feelings towards relationships, while being a superstar.
The human experience.
Yeah. And like I feel like that's a lot of that's the importance. I feel like that was the important message to get across from this whole story was, there's so much pain, physical and emotional, that she goes through to be the name and the person that she is. And at the same time, she's also fighting back against, same thing with Dolly, she's fighting back against male control, not only in her life, but in the industry itself. And so it does a good job at displaying, all this hardship that she goes through while being a pampered, rich superstar. There's people all over her 24/7 doing makeup, and she has so many privileges. She points out she has so many privileges that, like, with her she has I think it's fibromyalgia.
Well, I know she broke her hip, and it's like centered on that. But I don't know. I don't remember if they mentioned or knowing about any actual illness. But yeah, she's in great pain a good portion of the time in this film.
Yeah. And she has great trainers and, people giving her massages constantly. And, and she remarks that, I feel bad for the people who have the same, problems that I do, but don't have the privilege that I do. And so she acknowledges where she's at in life and still tries to use that to be a powerful role model. She stopped being so much of the icon and started being more of the role model. And I thought this movie did a great job at exploring that. and I like the behind the scenes aspect. You know, it felt a little real.
Yeah,
you know, again
sure.
with Dolly, even though it's a great informative site, it felt very, mundane and kind of not scripted. I feel like there's more scripted moments with Gaga than with Dolly, but
sure,
this one had a liveliness, an emotional drive.
Yeah, I would totally agree. So they weren't trying anything with Dolly. Here I am. They weren't trying anything new. There was no experimentation. So for that I do put this above that movie in quality, because it's a lot more fulfilling for the viewer to get to what the movie's supposed to be without the movie maker holding their hand, which is the same as fiction too. But you definitely get your hand held through the information and your standard interview documentary. But there's nothing wrong with that format. It's just what it is.
But here the documentarist, whatever they're called, he went out. He didn't know if there was gonna actually be a story that developed.
Sure.
It's just it's a year in the life of Lady Gaga, or just a few months in the life. I don't know how long this period was. And I should mention that the director's name is Chris Mukerbel. Weird name. Anyways, but he found a story through it. While capturing her life through camera for however long, he eventually found this story building up to her Super Bowl performance. A great part of her career that celebrates her entire career. It's a big moment. It's bigger than most of the concerts that she's put on. I'm sure she performed for more people, but as she said, it's a celebration of her whole career. It's bigger than what her other concerts are.
Also, arena concerts are completely different than any other setting. Like it's the only real setting where you gotta worry about people around you 360 degrees. And I remember watching that concert.
Same.
I thought it was pretty good, but I'm sure it was much better in person.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I honestly am not a huge fan of how they film the halftime shows. I think they could do a lot better. I mean, they have so much time to plan.
But you also have to take in the fact that they only have like a few minutes to set everything up. So
that is true. That is true. And I mean, I haven't done that job particularly, stadium or television shit, but I have worked theater union jobs where you do have to set up shit really fast or tear it down really fast.
And what they do is incredible. The ability to set up this whole stage and get it like hundreds of people, maybe thousands, to flood it, like it's amazing. But I'm also not the person that watches the Super Bowl. There's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't watch it either.
White male doesn't watch football.
I used to catch. Yeah, right. Same here though. I do not watch any sports really.
I watch baseball.
The Traveler watches more sports than I do. And every time he mentions it, I said if I would watch sports, it probably would be baseball.
Yep. Baseball's my game.
But and I did enjoy watching it with the family growing up. Like it's not like I hated it. In fact, I played it in high school. Yeah, not for very long because a couple of really good friends got hurt.
Oh no!
And I realized that I did not enjoy the game enough to not be able to use my body the way I want to use it for the rest of my life.
That's fair. That's a good point.
And I already have, and I still have knee problems from being a lineman. It's a tough game.
Yeah.
And I do give props to those professional players. Like I don't know how they can keep their body going.
I remember playing flag football as a kid, and also like junior basketball. I believe little kids playing basketball. I'll watch any sport. Like I don't mind sports being on the TV. I'm just not gonna go out of my way to watch it, except unless it's baseball. Like if I can find a baseball game online or on TV, and I have nothing better to do, I will sit down and watch that. Any other sport? No, not really. Not unless a family member is watching it and I don't want to change the channel on them.
And I'm sure there was a point that we were trying to get
the
to.
halftime, the Super Bowl halftime show. It's
it's
building up
show,
to that, and
yes.
it was a long tangent just to say that I too, I didn't watch the football game itself, but the next day I looked up the YouTube show, or I looked up the halftime show on YouTube, and watched it.
Sure.
And it wasn't anything amazing to me, but it was a good performance. Like I remember asking my mom watched it. I remember asking she doesn't like Lady Gaga. It was one of those artists that I annoyed her with by playing a lot. But I remember asking her, I was like, how was Lady Gaga's performance? She's like, yeah, it was good. I didn't mind it. And to hear her just not flat out say like I hated it, I was like, there we go. We're making progress. We're making progress with Lady Gaga. Yeah. She's coming around to her. I think A Star Is Born. I think A Star Is Born definitely changed her opinion on Lady Gaga. I think she really liked her.
Yeah, I would hope so. And you know what? I think that's really the direction that she would prefer to go with her music. Like I really liked the Tony Bennett album that she did. I think it's a whole album. But anyways, I know they did a couple songs at least. But that's really good. Yeah, I really want to see where her career goes because this film made it obvious. I think she made a pretty good point herself. She said, this isn't a quote because I don't have the telescript in front of me. She said, I got famous when I was a kid and I didn't get a chance to grow up because I was busy being famous. Now I'm 30 and I want to be a woman. And that was just the perfect line for what this movie is trying to represent. It's just a transition in her life and career. And I'm really excited to see where it takes her because I do think she's very talented and a smart businesswoman, and I want to see what happens. And I'm also going to go and listen to Joanne. I haven't
it's a good album.
But it seemed like my type of music.
Yeah, that and her, obviously, Star Is Born soundtrack. Like, highly recommend those. Yeah. I mean, I recommend a lot of her albums. Even her older pop stuff I still like. But, again, more of her recent stuff is falling more to what I like as in regards to music. But another aspect, and I think this could just lead into my closing statement. Another aspect that I really loved about this is they focus on her anxieties. She has a lot of anxiety and stress. Her job, as she says, you wouldn't think that being rich and famous was so hard. I don't think she actually says something like that, but there's a mention similar to that where it's there's just no time to be alone, but at the same time there's no body to talk to. She struggles with relationships. She doesn't know when men just like her, they just like the money or the artist and that kind of stuff. And she's saying she wants to be a woman now. She talks about how she wants to have a family and settle down and just become an old singer. Right. Just grow old and be that woman.
And I really liked that line. That made me and Sarah laugh quite a bit when she said it. Somebody said, I don't know who the redhead was that she was talking to, but she said something about you don't want them to think that you're old, and she's like, really? I'm really excited about it. Be an old lady singer. Yeah. I think that would be. I really want to. I mean, I want to grow up and get to have more of that. Get to watch her do
exactly.
that.
I want to see her fulfill her wishes there, because I like watching. I've liked watching her journey so far, and it's fun to see her just continue to grow as a person. And as you said, this is a great, behind the scenes documentary. It's a different take, it was livelier, good view of this life that I've already enjoyed. and I'm excited to see go further. It was a
Right.
good transitioning story, and I give it 3.5 stars. You know, very, very entertaining.
That's a good score. Yeah, it is a full face movie. So this is what I'll say. If you're interested in knowing more about Lady Gaga, then you have to do this. I don't know if you have to do this first, but you have to watch this because this is, I think, probably the closest thing to getting to know her personally will be. Besides becoming friends with her somehow.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Lady Gaga, if you hear this, I would love to just talk to you. Like,
yeah, let's be friends.
Let's just hang out. We'll go to where weed's legal, and we'll just smoke a cigarette and have a good conversation.
Now, she does seem like she would be an interesting one to be around. I feel her pain in this film. Anyways, you know, this film relays it to me really well, and damn, she's still just moving so hard and still being in all that pain. That is heroic,
so often
and honorable in a way, but I do think that she also can have the courage and say, I need to step back and be a slower performer.
Yeah.
Not a slower performer, but not so
hard on herself.
She's not, she's not young anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So often we take celebrities for granted. You know, it's just like, because it's just, they entertain us. So we're just like, man, their lives are so easy. They have so much money they can get by. And it's just like, it's true. They do have a lot of money and they have a lot more privileges than you and I do. But at the same time, they're just humans. They got their own pains. They got their own complexities and anxiety issues or mental hookups.
Hooks and hang-ups.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's just, in this movie, just, brings that back into focus. It brings, it's, we're always so attacked. We become such an attacking society. We're all on the defensive, ready to attack each other. And, it's a good reminder to just, to relax, and, everybody's got some kind of problem. So just be nice to everybody and, help each other out. I don't think that's really the message of this story, but that's where I'm going with it.
That's fair. And I think what I started to say is, if you're a Lady Gaga fan, gotta check this movie out. If you're not super interested in Lady Gaga, I'm not sure what would draw you into watching this film, but it's still a worthwhile documentary. If you're interested in like the lives of superstars or how people handle fame, this is a great example of that. I do recommend it. Either way.
Black is King wins the threesome.
Black is King wins the threesome. Safe travels, good night.
Queen Bey's Black is King.
Yeah.
A visual album. It's so beautiful.
It is.
We were talking right before this recording. I think it's fair just to open it up with that. Does this really match the threesome feel we had? Is it a biography? The other two are documentaries, very information based about two artists' life, and this one is a visual album where it's just it's her music that she put forth alongside Lion King. Why don't you say your argument for why it's?
What I was saying was right before we started recording, I don't know that it was necessarily fair of the other two movies, that we included Black is King. I think it has the focus that we were looking for, powerhouses, female powerhouses in the music industry. That was kind of what we were going for. So when I first suggested it, I guess I didn't know what Black is King was, to be perfectly honest. And I thought it was, about Beyonce and her life. And, I'm sure that as a that was my bad. But then shortly after, before we, I did some research beforehand, and I was like, oh, okay, I think it still works. And the reason why I don't think it's fair though, is that this is so visually stunning, and
yes, it is.
So it is just so good on so many different levels, but it is not a documentary. So like, I feel like the other twos are pretty good.
I tossed in my objection. First off, shame on you for not thinking it was a visual album, because I shared this. We have a Facebook chat, Couch Potatoes, the Faceless Leon and I and a couple other friends.
I'm being shamed.
where we post music that we're all appreciative of, whenever we're listening to a song or something, we're like, hey, I think the fam should know this. We'll send them that song. And I sent this entire link in that chat because way back in June, I believe, or maybe July, that's when I fell in love with this movie.
I didn't listen to it at that point. I'm sorry.
Public shaming.
Yeah.
But my objection though is that this is in a way a documentary, because it is her way of telling her life, kind of, how she fought back against the industry, same as the other two women we're talking about, how she rose through irregardless, I don't think irregardless is an actual word, regardless of
I think you're right.
Right? Is it not? I don't think it is.
I don't really know. Yeah,
I think people have used it, but anyways,
keep on with your point.
But like it's not a tale about her. She's the album is talking about a prince. It's very Lion King styled, but at the same time very, very much better in regards to cultural storytelling for the African culture. But I do think it is very documentary wise because of that, because she's telling the story, this very traditional, very personal story of, her ancestors, like where
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I told you before we recorded, it's not a good argument, but it is in a way documentary styled. She is telling a story of a life.
She is, like, there's definitely, like, she did so much research for this film.
Yeah.
For that reason, it is, I would give a little bit of merit to your argument. But I mean, it's not a documentary. It is an art piece.
But it's such a beautiful art piece.
Not to say that documentaries can't be art pieces, because I have definitely seen them where they are heightened to that level that I would call them art.
And those are the ones I typically enjoy more.
Yes, yeah. And Gaga 5'2" is getting kind of close to that level. But I just feel like there was probably some other visual albums that we could have put up with this. It probably still would have won. I can't imagine being more impressed with something else, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, like, I think the first thing, like, I don't even want to talk the music first. The first thing I want to talk first with Black is King is the cinematography. Because, it's a virtual album again. It's told, there's different directors for each song segment and all these different little skits. It's not just one long film with the same director all the way through and the same cinematographer all the way through. It's a collective effort of so many people, and I don't know how, but like every single cinematographer that worked on it was just fucking brilliant. Like it looks so beautiful every minute of this movie or this visual album. Like, again, I want to call it a movie. It's not a movie, it's a visual album. Yeah,
I was transposed from the moment that we turned it on, to be perfect.
Right.
I was in it from start to finish. I mean, there was a couple pauses that we took in between songs, but other than that,
yeah, because it is
I
long.
Was there. Yeah, it is very long.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
my
a
only
detriment
criticism.
to it. I see why it could be a criticism for some, but I think that it is so, like you said, every frame is beautiful. Like there's not a part of the movie that I would want to leave.
George Lucas's every shot, every frame is its story. It's true though. It is true though here.
Yes, it really is. I can't really praise it enough. I was stunned by the costumes, which
oh god, man. Yeah, she has. That's like the one thing is like Beyonce can have anything she wants. You know, that's how powerful she has become. In that regard, you know, she's like in this movie, she has every single costume she could possibly want, and she
had.
I want to know the budget.
Different costumes.
Oh my god! I was gonna say I want to know the budget they had just for the costumes because 69. You said, holy crap!
69, the perfect number. I'm gonna try to pronounce the costume designer's name. Zarina Akers. That as soon as I pronounced it, didn't seem like it was that hard of a name to pronounce. But her and Beyonce, that is, really wanted to make sure that they were bringing in dress from all over the continent, and not just all over the continent either, like the different cultures that have popped up across the world from, you know, the disbursement of black people, the diaspora is, you know, what they call it. I think they did such a good job of accomplishing their mission and you know, bringing all these elements together from across the continent. And you know, they're not really cultures that I'm familiar with. This film does make me want to look more into the different traditions and stylings of dress from the continent, even in the urban settings in the film. I thought their style was so cool. I loved it, and
it inspired me to go out and buy books about these cultures, you know, to learn more, just you know, because it's interesting. It definitely made me realize it's like, shit, that's another area that I know nothing about that I am interested in knowing a lot about.
Yeah,
it's powerful in that regard. You know, it brings a lot to, you know, it's just another part of another culture that our media, this in particular American entertainment, has kind of just ignored.
Yeah, and like even so much so that we in the Western culture refer to it as one culture, even though it's so diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And we just do not focus on it in our learnings, that we just don't know anything about it. And that's very sad because a huge portion of our population, their ancestors are from there. And a big part of the movie is that the way that black people have been treated in our country is that they don't get the opportunity to find pride in that culture, because they're taught that you gotta be part of the American culture now, and that's, I mean, obviously they are a part of the American culture, but
to be fair, in one of our episodes we did attack our education growing up, and again, as I said, to be fair, we did. My school, and I think your school too, well, we talked again a little bit before the recording, we read a book called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and that's one of the books I've just recently bought because I was like, I do remember enjoying that a lot in high school, and I was like, I want to return to that. So they did expand a tiny bit into other cultures. I do remember that was one of those outside of America. You know, we had an English teacher that was like, I want you guys to, you know, explore outside of the United States, to read about all the other cultures and stuff like that. And I think I just read something about Alexander the Great. Like,
went straight to the Western source.
Yeah.
I probably did the same thing.
Right.
Greco-Roman was the thing that interested me the most out of ancient history, for sure.
Same. And it's starting to flare up again for me, where I'm getting that need to read about, you know, Roman Empire and, you know, all that fun, beautiful stuff. But getting back to Black is King, we got there from the cinematography and the costume design. We haven't even talked the music yet.
I know.
The entire purpose of this visual album to deliver new music.
I agree. There is just one thing that I read that I want to mention, and that it is off of the hairstyle. Like they do a lot of really cool stuff with traditional hairstyles, but Beyonce went to Neil Farina and was like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to do this movie, and I want you to make this masterpiece with me." That's not a direct quote, but it's pretty close to what I read in the story. And she already had all these photos of different ideas that she wanted to incorporate. So, it seemed to me from the stuff I was researching is that she had a really big hand in the hairstyles, and they were awesome. Yeah. But her and Farina did wonderful things.
It's literally magnificent. Like,
yeah.
If I don't know the qualifications for the Academy Awards, but like I feel like it's gonna be nominated for something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they consider it a movie, but I feel like they have to.
Man, they really could. I feel like honestly, I think that as a whole film, this might be above Mank, honestly. It was really freaking good.
Yeah, it definitely ranked really high for me in my list, but it didn't. I still liked Onwards. That was more of a personal feel, but this was definitely top 3. But the music, there's so many songs that stick out. My only 2 complaints throughout the entire movie, and they're not actual complaints, they're just things I can point out to be like, here's like 2 small things that wasn't as pleasing as the rest of it. There's no actual complaint there. I don't mind.
Sure.
But it was that length of it. I'm fairly certain I have some form of ADHD, and halfway through this, even though I was lost in the beauty of it, I was I was not paying attention to the music after a while. I was just sitting there looking at the screen, being like, drool coming down from my mouth, just like, wow, this is beautiful. So it's like I just kind of got lost in it and stopped paying attention to the message after a while, and I had to like rewind and be like actually focus on the movie again. And that's just because it's very long. It's all music. It was some spoken poetry. But my other complaint was that there are so many cameos of people I love. It's like Childish Gambino, Kendrick Lamar, Jesse Reyes, like all these great cameos. But because they're all just on one album or on one track, they're all just a part of one song. They're only in it for like a minute or so, and then they're gone.
That's true.
So it's like so many people I love that pop up. I'm like, oh, I know them. Like, oh, I love their music, and it's like, oh, there they go. Okay,
but
moving on with the story.
I think though to bounce back off of that is that her featuring of artists from around the globe in this film was so good.
Incredible.
Like
incredible.
Yes, incredible. So I think there was so many cameos that were on the global scale that we probably didn't even recognize. That there probably just wasn't enough time to give these people that you wanted to have more time.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's not an actual complaint because I understand it. I understand it completely, and I respect it entirely because, again, they're just featured on songs. That's just, if this was not a visual thing, I wouldn't notice anything about it. There'd just be one song that I would probably listen to over and over again. But as a movie, it's like I see them, I'm just like, yeah, I hear their voice, and I'm just like, oh, I love I love this voice, and then they're gone. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's fine. We're moving on with the story. It's whatever.
One last cameo that I really enjoyed was Lupita Nyong'o's appearance, where she actually gets to say her own name, it was, I think I looked away for just a second, and then she said her own name, and I looked at the screen, and I was like, that is Lupita.
That was one of the many cameos that flew under my radar, I think.
That was too bad, because she was I think it's just like kind of in the background of the rest of that song at that point.
Yeah.
And that was really fun for me. I think she is. I mean, she's definitely one that we got to keep a lookout and on.
Oh yeah, she's an amazing actor.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only reason I missed her cameo was because I was dancing during that song, like legit, because it's one of my favorite songs on the whole album. It's got such a great beat, and it again, all of the songs have good messages.
Oh yeah.
The movie itself incorporates a lot of quotes from The Lion King because it is fairly similar in story to that. Prince being exiled from his community, coming back to reclaim the throne. Not a news story in any way, but the way they tell it and the way they incorporate so many different cultures and symbols and all this beautiful imagery,
right,
just makes this whole story just feel completely new and just revived and
hell yeah,
absolutely wonderful to watch.
And I'll have to say I have seen that live action, not live action, the computer animated Lion King.
It was live action.
Oh no, it wasn't. Anyways, that
they really trained all these animals.
That movie really just didn't need to happen. I mean,
no.
It was because they didn't do anything new to it besides the computer animation. The animation's really good, but
yeah, I had the subtitles on, and I would not have known that the quotes were like Timon and Pumbaa because they're using the new movies Timon and Pumbaa. Yeah. And like, if I didn't have the subtitles, I would have been like, "Who the fuck are these people, and why are they singing Hakuna Matata?" Like,
yeah, that's funny.
I've seen the movie, but I completely forget everybody who was in it. Yeah. I remember John Oliver and Beyonce, and that's it.
I'm pretty sure Seth
Rogen.
I can't.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Seth Rogen was Pumbaa, but the guy, he's in all sorts of shit, but I can't remember his name. But he plays Craig on Parks and Rec, and I don't even think you've seen that show, so that does not help.
Yeah, I haven't.
Anywho, this album, this motion picture is the best thing that came out of that Lion King movie. That's what I'm going to say. I'm sorry for all the people who worked hard on that movie. I know you did, and it really wasn't bad. It just it wasn't needed. I'm sorry. So I feel like we tangent on a couple of different movies for this particular one. But let me ask you, if you had to pick one song, what was it?
Just
if you
one.
Can't do it, you can have three. You can have three if you can't do it.
That's good. Okay. The one I remember the most is Brown Skinned Girl. So, I feel like that's an easy win of them.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
But at the same time, I really do love Jessie Reyez and Kendrick Lamar. So I feel like if I'm allowed to have three, I feel like their two songs where they're featured artists.
Do you remember what titles they were?
I don't. That's the thing is like since I didn't listen to it like on YouTube or like since I didn't just listen to the album. Normally when I listen to music, I'm looking at the titles and the track list, and I'm reading about it while I'm listening to the song. But since I was watching the album, I just don't remember the titles. I just remembered the visuals. Yeah. I just remember Jessie Reyez's awesome dark like lightning scene where I can't remember what's going on, but it's kind of haunting in a way.
Yeah. I actually listened to it today again while I was doing the research. And so that did help me. But I don't know who was featuring in what song off the top of my head. So, anyhow, I would say, though, for me, if I were to pick three myself, I would probably pick Bigger, which is the one at the beginning, where she's playing like almost a goddess character, but like a mother goddess character, and anointing the bebe. And that song, I mean, when I listened to it again today, that almost got me in tears. It's very good, and I think Brown Skin Girl is an obvious choice, and it's definitely worth it. And then I really like one of the ones at the end, My Power. That one's really good. Nice. I don't know who's featuring at the beginning off the top of my head. But there's like this, the chorus or the hook, whatever. I don't know musical terms very well, but they say power in a way that you almost can't recognize it, and it's so good. It just gets caught in your head. I love it.
Nice. Yeah, it is a wonderfully, like, even just as an album, it's a great album. Like, if it didn't have the visuals and everything, it's certainly something I would just be, because I like to listen to full albums. That's
right.
I'm breaking that a little bit this year. I looked up like a top 500 songs list, so I'm going through like, I think it's Rolling Stone's top 500.
Whoa.
So that's different for me, because normally I just look up albums and just listen to a full album, because that's just how I like to take in music. So this would certainly be one that would be just constantly playing in my car, or if I'm doing chores at home.
I put it on Spotify right away after I watched it. It was so good.
Yeah, but add to that the beautiful cinematography. This is just becoming my closing statement, to be honest.
Sure, yeah.
Add to that the beautiful cinematography, the numerous cultural references and symbols and stuff that, it sparked in me an interest to go out and read more about it. Probably the only 4-star movie of 2020. Again, still doesn't beat. Yeah, doesn't beat the emotional ties of Onward for me. That still means more because of the the brotherhood that our friendship centers on.
Right.
Not just you and me, but our extended friends. And I know that some people are going to be confused. It's like, well, how does the 4-star movie not beat the 3-star movie? Like, that doesn't make sense. Well, fuck you. But that's how it is. This is honestly the only 4-star movie I saw last year. I'm hoping I'll catch up on movies from 2020 and find another 4-star movie. But
that'd be nice.
Yeah, this 100% one of the greatest things to come out of last year.
I will agree with that wholeheartedly. I think I'm going to give it a face and a half. I know I said when I did that for Mank that I was like, this is probably going to be the only one that gets this, or something along those lines. But
it's your prestigious award.
Impressed. Yeah, I was so impressed by this. I think everyone should watch it. I don't think it's my favorite thing in the world. Like,
no.
I'm honestly not a big music video fan. Most of the time, I don't bother with watching the music videos of my favorite songs. Most times. They normally don't have this great cinematography like this. That's true. Yeah, I'm sure this is probably a little more elevated than your average music video. But it was so
Disney
good.
Money.
It was so good. I don't know what else to say about it.
Female powerhouse threesome.
Hell yeah.
And Blackest King wins. Queen Bey.
All hail Queen Bey.
May she forever reign.
So I guess that's it, man. We fucking did it. We did it.
I'm the Green Traveler from Gorsh with an X.
And I'm the Faceless Leon, a sack of potatoes because I ate them all. Safe travels and good nights. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. If you want to learn more information about us, check us out on Facebook. You can also check out the Facebook and Instagram accounts of FictionWorks 19. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, or subscribe wherever you catch the show. Thank you all very much for listening.